Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is SubLBC here doing another video episode of Growing for Freedom. And in today's video episode, guys, we are going to be continuing on with our little, step-by-step build-out, I guess, of the third nursery here in our new location at Site B. And obviously a lot has changed, and for all of you guys that did not see the introductory video, essentially we just introduced the location, get an idea of the square footage, the layout, and the spacing and stuff of that nature. But obviously, we've done a lot of work since then. So want to go ahead and talk about exactly what's been done and some of the things that still need to be done in order to get this thing finished. So first things first, guys, getting the room light sealed was the most important thing. So Panda film is obviously the best way to do that. You generally want to get your Panda film by the roll. And I got a roll, I think it's right over here. Cost me about $82 or so for a 100-foot roll. And after finishing this work here, this is something that I really would like to do inside of the 4,000 watt Site B garden directly above us, because it was just so easy. It rolls out and expands to 10 feet. So you essentially just staple gun it there from the very top. You have a nice 12-inch lip down here at the bottom. So really, really easy, guys, to get this stuff laid out. And then of course, once you have it, all staple gun up against the wall, you just go ahead and isolate your electrical and then just use a small razor blade to cut around your outlets there. And then, staple gun right around the area. And for all you guys that are hardcore, you can go as far as actually taking off the cover plates and just slicing up little holes in the Panda and then putting the cover plates back on. So you'll actually have, like real cover plates over the Panda if you were, anal like that. But I don't really go that far. I'm more than happy basically just, lying this stuff all out. And you can see that the 100-foot roll was more than enough to cover all the walls. And we're probably gonna use either Panda film or something similar to also coat the floor. And I'm thinking about actually putting all of the mother plants on rollers and actually, having like special slippers, kind of like Japanese style. I don't know if you guys, been to a traditional Japanese home. You generally don't wear your shoes. You put on little slippers, but it'd be nice to follow that protocol here because, hard-soled shoes could probably cut into Panda film if that's what we indeed use. But again, I could go with a much higher grade form of floor tarping that is more resistant, and that would probably be the better way to go. So I'm going to be investigating those options over the next couple of days. But obviously, before we get into that, the biggest things we need to sort out are obviously our lighting and our electrical. And I know that a lot of people had questions about how that's all done. So let's go ahead and actually break down all the individual devices that we have working here in the garden, starting off with our HPS system. So this here is the Raptor 6, the Hydrofarm Raptor 6, and this combined with the Phantom 1000 watt ballast were the two items that I won in the Green Door 3rd year anniversary raffle. So really nice, obviously, to get those things hooked up. And you can see that I've done somewhat of an interesting, ballast mounting job, and this is somewhat inspired from my Extreme Nanos. I really like the fact that those things are mounted right above my ballast, or right above my reflector, I'm sorry. And with this particular ballast, they don't have flush mounting plates along the bottom like you normally see with Lumitex or Solistech, but instead you get the handle with the screw holes. And that wasn't really going to work for me until I decided to do it this way. So just grabbed a couple of my Sun Grips, basically the Pro Grip knockoffs, and using the existing keyholes or the eye holes here, or the eye screws I guess they're called or some shit, basically just connected them all together, and I'm just suspending this thing. And then of course using those same to control the reflector itself. So very, very straightforward setup, but I like the fact that it keeps the ballast nice and right above the reflector where it's easy to get to and out of the way of everything else, to be honest. So the only cord that comes off this really is the power cord itself, which you can see is still free hanging here, and I do plan to actually run that up here in the corner, so again, it's out of the way. And the way the electrical is for this particular device is that I actually run this one completely out of the room onto its own dedicated breaker over in the kitchen area, because I don't want this thing basically running on all the other breakers, and I'll kind of explain more about that in a second. But it is on its own isolated breaker, so it's definitely not overloading at all, and also using a very high grade cable, which you generally want to do whenever you're running any kind of distance. And these ones here are the Husky 14 gauge, which are generally good enough for almost all situations. The only time you want to maybe consider going with a 12 gauge or smaller gauge, which is a thicker wire, is if you're going to be running 50 foot distances and heavy wattage. a lot of amperage, stuff like that. But honestly, the only cable that we have that's running 50 feet is another 14 gauge, but that one is only running the LED systems, which are really not that hardcore. They only draw 3 amps. So 12 amps, the cable itself is rated for 15, I think. And this one, as you can see, also runs all the way into the kitchen on its own dedicated breaker. So the reason why all of these are having to run off extensions is the fact that I want the AC over here, guys, to run dedicated. So the AC here is running directly into the wall, and all of the bottom low wall plugs are connected to the same 20 amp breaker. So basically nothing else is going to run off those wall plugs, with the exception of the 6-inch exhaust fan, because that doesn't really draw a lot of amperage, and I figured with just this fan and the AC unit alone, that's not going to be much of a problem. So these two are running together, and you can see that I've got some semi-rigid ducting here that I put off the end, and I plan on not connecting this to the passive intake, but putting them very close, or maybe binding them but leaving it open so the excess pressure can dissipate without being force fed directly into the AC. And essentially trying to do this just to up the negative pressure in the room just a little bit, and also to kind of force cool the AC, because a lot of the a lot of burden of cooling is being put on this thing. I mean, essentially the AC has got to do all the work. If I lose the AC unit, things are going to get bad in here, guys, real quick, with all the lighting that we've got going on. Now, excuse me, as far as getting the exhaust dealt with, that was really easy. Obviously use the heater vent here to do that, and then I went ahead and just fired up a bunch of expanding foam all throughout, and that expanded real well and sealing up real nice. So all I got to do at this point is just light seal this tube so that you can see the light just a little bit on the other side, and then this whole thing here will be dealt with sufficiently. So that brings us over here, guys, to the other part of the garden, which is where all of our LED lighting is going to be. And initially, guys, when I basically spec'd this out, I was only planning on running 3 LED systems, but you can see that I decided just to go ahead and put all 4 of them up. And the reason for that is that when I went ahead and started doing all the stud work, basically finding out where all the studs were, they were all placed a perfect 16 inches exactly where they needed to be to hold 4 of these things without encroaching on any room that I needed to hold my 8-bulb T5 arrays. So I said, fuck it, we'll go ahead and run all 4. And as far as the electrical is concerned, over here I use one of these little things where you can basically connect 5 devices, the 4 that you see plus 1 on top, and then you can just connect your own extension. It's basically just a static splitter. And then from there, run the 50-foot 14-gauge extension, and all of my LEDs are perfectly managed. And you see the cables are nice and out of the way, and I have the freedom to adjust each one of these LED systems individually using the sun grips. So hopefully, if these things function better in this environment, they'll pay off. But one thing that I like about having them set up this way is that if I, for whatever reason, become dissatisfied with any of these systems, I can easily pull them right down and replace them, with either another LED system or, a 100% integrated 400 watts or 250 watts, similar to what I'm using in the vegetative area at Site B. So this whole area of the garden here, guys, gives me a lot of versatility and kind of gives me a little area where I can just test all types of new lighting systems, but specifically ones that are, completely enclosed. But that's good because a lot of the future technology is being offered in that format, such as the, the plasma-based lighting, some of the next-gen LEDs, and, even some HPS setups. So obviously I've got a lot of options, but for now, because of the fact that I've already got all these LED systems, we're just gonna go ahead and run these things. And they seem to be working pretty well at this point. So as you can see, guys, being able to hold 4 mothers under the 1,000-watt HPS with additional 4 mother plates here, we're going to be able to produce a lot. Even if the LEDs don't do that terribly well, we have a 1,000-watt HPS over there, and that is definitely going to do well, especially on a reflector of that size. So, as far as everything else is concerned, we got the 8-bulb T5s, and these are essentially going to be used for staging exactly the same way that they are over at the main production line nursery. And the only thing that we really have to add, guys, are the racks. But you can see that we've got plenty of space here on the far wall to add 2 full-size rack systems. Each one of those will contain 5 4-foot single-bulb T5s from Sunblaze, so 10 total, plus another rack over here which will be split in half, and underneath we'll be able to hold 4 more strips. So obviously a lot of capacity, guys, for staging, and I love the fact that everything is just so wide open. You know what I mean? I mean, you come in here, and we still keep, are planning on keeping this table here. You know what I'm saying? But you can see how all the lighting here in the room kind of works together. Every plant in this garden is going to be able to work off, some of the ambient light from all of these reflectors that we've got everywhere. And so far, guys, as far as temperature is concerned, with this AC running, seems to be doing quite well. Obviously we don't have the strips in, but I don't really anticipate those, adding that much heat. And as far as the 8-bulb T5s are concerned, you also notice here on this cable that these things run all the way to this particular outlet, not the ones here down below. And the reason for that is like I said, I don't want anything else sharing breaker space with the AC unit. So basically this stuff here has its own, and for whatever reason, this little light switch with these two plugs are on a different breaker than everything else. But that's not too bad. Basically just picked up a, I think it's like a 9 or 10 foot extension here, another Husky that's a 14 gauge, and then just ran it all the way to these reflectors, which are connected in tandem, which is really nice, allowing me to run them on one cable. So that's pretty much it. Now, as far as remaining work is concerned, got to go ahead and bring in the reservoir, which is going to go ahead and go right here in this corner. Was thinking about putting it here, but honestly, guys, I want to go ahead and put up another small rack, just like we have at the upstairs garden. Throw a laptop and some speakers in there. We got the reservoir right here, and after looking at the space, I don't think it's going to be a problem. The plants, we're only going to have 4 of them. So yeah, we'll have more than enough space, I think, here for the reservoir. And just run it on a really, really long line, and I'm planning on using a nutrient regimen that is universal for all the mother plants and clones. And this is something that I've actually been doing for quite a while over in the tent, and it actually seems to work pretty decently. So just gonna simplify the mix here a little bit while we get things started, try to analyze how the plants do, but so far so good, guys. We're having great luck here with the environment, and there's not too much else to do. Once we get the water filtration system put in and the reservoir, it's pretty much bring the plants over, get them transplanted, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So things are coming together here really, really nicely. Now, for all you guys that might have questions about all the tools that I use to put this shit together, I'm gonna go over all of that real quick. So obviously you guys wanna have a really nice speed load drill set and screwdriver set, essentially, where you can use either with the corded drill, which I use, which is, the real high powered stuff, basically good for getting through hardwood to mount all of those eye hooks up there, or those eye holes. And then want to have a nice impact driver as well, which is good for just about everything else. And then obviously screwdriver, I needed to get a big crescent wrench there to get the heater valve taken off so I could remove the heater. Obviously you have to have a zircon stud finder, and a good quality one too, not the shitty one. The tape measure, it's obviously a must. And screws are a must. And let's see, what else was used? I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, staple gun, guys. Want to have tons and tons of staples, and a really good staple gun, not a shitty one. I know that a lot of you guys out there are probably on budgets, but trust me, the little bit of extra money you spend on this stuff really goes a long way. And for me, I am kind of lucky because this is not my first build out. I've been doing build outs like crazy, so I've got a lot of surplus gear and a lot of time to prepare, you know what I'm saying, especially with this garden. So it was not difficult for me to plan this thing out and just get it set up instantly. And it looks like we're gonna be up and running in 7 days. From the day that I was handed off the keys till the day we're gonna get plants in here will be about 7 days. And the plants are huge, guys. Once they make it in here and boost up a little bit more, I think that we're gonna be doing some major numbers. And I just hope that the rack space is sufficient, because we're really not gonna have much room for anything else. But I think we'll be okay. And either way, guys, if we do have a surplus or an over surplus, I've pretty much figured that is a good problem to have. So that is pretty much it, guys, for this video update. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, lots of other updates to come. You guys pretty much know the drill. So thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you all next time.